You know, what's really transforming our approach right now is how we're connecting the dots between space and financial performance. So we've developed analytics that actually show how workplace design directly impacts the bottom line. For large occupiers in places like in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, this is game-changing, because now we can demonstrate in real numbers how specific workplace configurations actually affect things like collaboration, efficiencies, and even absenteeism rates. So it's not just about having nice offices anymore. We're quantifying how these environments directly contribute to financial performance. So as an example, when a CEO asks, what's the ROI on this workplace investment? We now have concrete data to show them exactly how it pays off through enhanced productivity and talent attraction. And that's something we couldn't do with this level of precision before.
What's fascinating about our current approach is how we are using behavioral science data to really understand what makes diverse teams tick in the UAE. We are looking at, I'll call it, more human element of workplace strategy. For large occupiers managing international teams, and the UAE has such diverse workforces, we are providing insights of how spatial design affects cross-cultural collaboration. So our analytics are tracking things like how specific workplace elements impact retention rates among different demographic groups. And this allows employers to design spaces that specifically address what their key talent segments actually prefer, rather than guessing. And it is particularly important in the UAE market where companies are competing intensely for global talent. The data helps create environments that resonate with the specific workforce demographics they need to attract and as well to retain.
We're actually seeing a fascinating shift toward what I might call cognitive design, environments that actually support different mental states. Recent environmental psychology research is showing us that while our brains respond in predictable ways to specific sensory inputs, so in the UAE's forward-thinking market, we're creating what we call cognitive zoning. And these are spaces that specifically designed to either promote deep focus or spark creative thinking. And this goes really well beyond just aesthetics. So we're carefully manipulating light, sound, texture, and even scent to promote different brain states. You can actually think about how your mind works differently in a bright, energetic space versus a calm, softly lit one. So we're applying that science intentionally to support different types of mental work throughout the day.
What we are seeing emerge is a shift towards workspaces as expressions of organizational values and culture. Especially in the UAE's multicultural context, this means creating spaces that honor diverse traditions while fostering unified workplace identity. And I think what's particularly interesting is how we are incorporating elements inspired by traditional concepts like the Majlis and those gathering spaces for discussions and connections, but we as well are reimagining them for contemporary work. So these aren't just aesthetics choices, they're about creating meaningful shared experiences that build community. We are also getting much more intentional about what we call a journey mapping, designing how people naturally move through spaces to create those spontaneous interactions between teams. In the UAE's diverse work environment, spaces that respect cultural differences while creating shared experiences are proving extremely effective.
It's an interesting question. We're actually applying behavioral economics principles to create what we call choice architecture in workplace design. And essentially what we're doing is we're using AI and smart systems to subtly guide people toward healthier and more productive behaviors without actually restricting their freedom. So just as an example, lighting systems that detect energy dips and gradually increase blue light content to maintain alertness. Or even a simple example would be circulation paths designed to make taking stairs more intuitive than elevators. So these are all just examples of technologies that create environments that support better decisions about movement, collaboration, and overall really work-life balance.
The most transformative impact of AI might actually be in how drastically it's compressing our design and implementation timelines. So what we used to take for weeks now to happen, it happens in hours as our teams leverage generative AI systems that can produce dozens of layouts options based on the specific parameters. This allows stakeholders to make informed decisions without waiting through traditional design development phases. And smart building systems now come with pre-configured solutions, sets that can rapidly customize rather than design from scratch, cutting implementation time dramatically, sometimes up to 40%. This compressed timeline is fundamentally changing how organizations approach workplace transformation, allowing them to adapt spaces to emerging needs with remarkable agility.
Our process really begins with cultural immersion. So understanding diverse communities, who's going to use these spaces, and thinking about, the community as a whole in the UAE. So before we draw a single line, we spend time observing how different professionals naturally work and interact. And what's actually really fascinating is noticing the subtle differences in how people use this space. Some groups naturally gather in open areas, and those are the extroverts, while others prefer more intimate settings for collaboration. So what we see is for mixed-use development specifically is we pay close attention to transitions between public and private areas. And do these transitions actually feel natural? Are they welcoming to everyone? That human understanding forms the foundation of everything we design.